not very technically inclined here. I think we're set up. There are several new programs that are being introduced right now, none of which have very good specifics to them. But what we're finding is there's a couple that are the most popular. And the first one, I would say, is part of the CARES Act that was signed into law last Friday. And that offers all kinds of stimulus for small business owners and, of course, larger businesses also. But we're more concerned right now with the small business sector. And part of that is if you were by chance a current SBA loan borrower, you would be receiving 6 months of forgiven payments. So that's huge. Not everybody in the chamber, I'm sure, has a small business loan that's active right now. But if you do, that is something that we were told was going to start April 1, but I think now it's actually going to start May 1. But that would be relief of 6 months of principal, interest, and fees on any SBA loan that you would have. It's not a deferment, it's an actually forgiven, it's forgiven for those 6 months. The second one that we're getting all kinds of calls on is this Paycheck Protection Loan. And that is being utilized by the SBA loan program called the 7A. And it is offered by banks, credit unions, any financial institution. And so you would go direct with them. That's going to offer you between February 15th and June 30th, payroll protection is really, and aptly named, I guess. So you can have, and I will see if I can share this form here. See. Can you guys see, can you see this? No.
Yeah, we can see it.
Oh, you can? Can you see this paycheck protection thing? Okay. So it can provide you a loan size of up to 10 million. And how they're basing that is it's an equivalent of their average payroll cost 2.5 times. So, or 250% of your average payroll cost. It's eligible businesses are 500 employees or less, which is within the SBA small business size standard. And it can also include nonprofits, so any 501c3, and tribal concerns and veteran organizations. So there is more specifics on nonprofits, and the government has posted a link so that you can see if your NAICS code, the business code that you have, actually fits into that nonprofit. So there is, it won't exceed 4% in the interest rate of these loans. And it's, the deferral is not less than 6 months and not more than a year. So there's a forgiveness option, which is what people are very interested in this program. And it's a forgiveness of up to 8-week period of your payroll costs, which would include health benefits and 401k contributions. So it's actually a phenomenal plan that they're rolling out for small businesses. The stipulation on payroll costs is that anyone who's going to be making over $100,000 during that time period would not be eligible, but you can cover the costs up to $100,000. So it can also have your rent and utility. So I can send this out. I didn't get a chance to send it out ahead of time, but the amount that will be forgiven will not obviously be more than what you borrow or what you apply for. And the incentive is to keep employees. So if you apply for the loan and you lay off all your employees, you're not going to get it, because the goal is to keep all your employees employed. So they're going to ask you how many employees you had as of February 15th, 2020. And then at the very end, excuse me, when you're applying for the forgiveness, they're going to ask you, did you continue to keep all those employees? So the goal for this program is definitely to keep employees hired and working. There are some stipulations in there, like if you did have to lay somebody off, but then you hire them back, it says like borrowers that rehire laid off workers by June 30th won't be penalized for having a smaller workforce at the beginning of the period. So again, the goal is just to have a provision that allows an employer to keep their employees during this unforeseen pandemic that we're having. So let's see here, I'm just scrolling down. The covered loan period is from February 15, 2020 to June 30th, 2020. And then the sheet will list off the eligible expenses or items that can be covered by this program. And it's payroll expenses, healthcare benefits, that you're retaining employees, the cost to do that, the cost of operating business, mortgage interest obligations, interest on other debt obligations incurred previous to February 15, 2020, mortgage or rent. So some of those are repetitive, but they have the essence of the program to qualify is that your business must be affected by the COVID-19. I don't know any business in Washington State that has not been gravely affected by this virus. So I would encourage small business owners to try and get this program. I mean, it's unprecedented that the government is actually providing dollars to small business owners for relief. So you can't have more than one program or more than one loan product. So you will want to choose which one you want to apply for. And I'll talk a little bit about the disaster program also, but so one or the other, my recommendation, just personally, is this payroll protection because it actually covers more and has that forgiveness option in it. There is no collateral taken for this loan, and there's no personal guarantee required on this loan. So we have appropriated $349 billion to help small business owners with this particular program. So Ameritrust is a facilitator of SBA loans, but this particular loan, the Paycheck Protection Program, is facilitated by a bank through the SBA 7A loan program. That is not what we do. So I put together a list of individuals that are heads of SBA departments at their lending institution that we feel will provide the service that Ameritrust provides their customers. So the goal in this is that banks are to receive greater information by Friday of how they are to facilitate this program and what will be required to apply for the program. Once they get that, they are supposed to be able to turn money to you within 36 hours. Now again, this is what it's designed to do. I'm not sure that how that's all gonna play out, but I would suggest being prepared and going directly to your bank. Regardless of these names, I would go directly to whoever you have your business accounts with, because banks will by nature help their customers first. So if you bank with any of these, we've got Savvy Bank, Mountain Pacific Bank, First Financial Northwest Bank, Heritage Bank, Banner Bank, and Coastal Community Bank. if you bank with any of those, I would call them today, and they won't have a lot of information to give you yet, but they can give you an idea of what you should start accumulating as far as your business financials, personal financials, and that kind of thing. So let's see, I will pause, stop share.
So Kim, since we just talked about that program, I know there's a number of questions that have been coming through, specifically having to do with businesses that have been forced to kind of lay everybody off because they're not allowed to do operations like spas and hairstylists, things like that.
Right.
How is that going to work if you can't essentially hire anybody back till they're allowed to be opened, or they have to wait until they can reopen to apply? What's that process going to look like?
Yes, and that's a great question, because so many people in Washington are experiencing that. And so what part of the CARES Act, there's another program. Well, there is a disaster loan program, and that is something that will cover all kinds of things, and it's a direct loan program with the Small Business Administration. You can go direct on their website, sba.gov, and apply for the disaster loan. They have all kinds of links on there, and we've been hearing that people are getting approved within 2 to 3 weeks. So that's an option. There's another new option that is another 7A loan, but all the fees are waived, and all the fees are waived on this, and it's called the 7A Express loan, and you can get that up to $1 million, and that would provide you money. It's not forgiven, but it is a low interest loan that would provide a company like the spa or restaurants or quite honestly dental practices. I mean, all these types of businesses that have been mandated to shut down. That is a very good option. And for that loan, you would go back to your business banker and ask them if they offer that 7A Express loan, and then apply for that. So the top three that I think are the best use for borrowers to apply for are the disaster loan, the paycheck protection loan, and this 7A Express loan, that all of those have the fees waived and that you should be able to have money fairly quickly. 2 to 3 weeks right now doesn't seem real fast to me. But again, I don't think SBA has the employee and staff ratios to facilitate that any faster right now. But these SBA 7A loans that are facilitated through the bank, they should be able to help you quite quickly.
So out of those three that you just mentioned, the disaster loans, the payroll protection, the 7A, are they mutually exclusive? Can you apply for all three, or are you only able to apply for one of those options? Because I know with the payroll protection and having the loan forgiveness, for a lot of our small businesses who aren't looking to take on new debt because of that, because of what's happening, that is a nice incentive of staffing back and keeping people employed and having that forgiven.
Yes, absolutely. If you can get into that paycheck protection loan, I would recommend it. It seems like a phenomenal program. If you are already shut down, we've heard rumor that they're not penalizing companies that had to lay that off, that they're going to actually kind of go back in time a bit before you had to lay them off. But I hesitate in saying that because I don't have anything in writing yet that they will actually allow that. But that is the talk. Quick money is certainly the utilizing that 7A loan program to get you either their express loan or the paycheck protection loan. All are good, and I think all are helpful. So I would recommend picking one. You can only have one. Now, if you apply for a disaster loan, there is a option that you can get an express loan that will cover the time frame in between you apply and are approved for the disaster loan and actually receive funds. It's only for about $25,000, but that could be of help too. But you can't get the disaster loan and the paycheck protection loan.
Okay. One other question kind of in the payroll protection said the forgiveness is for 8 weeks.
That is correct.
But
That's
the
what
period is 3.5 months.
Yes.
Okay.
Not, I'm hoping that by Friday we have clear information on this, because sometimes what they send us gives us more questions than
Yes.
answers. So, but I will send you guys, you and Erica, information as I receive it, and then you can share that if you want to.
Okay. And one other question was, said, what if we already applied for the EIDL before CARES was released, but now prefer to use the payroll protection instead?
So if you've applied for a disaster loan, even if you get approved for it, you have no obligation to take it. So keep yourself in the queue, keep going down that path, and then you have the option to not take it if you decide to go with the paycheck protection loan.
Okay. All right. So that's one of the programs. What other stuff are we gonna? What other things do you have to kind of share? So with the CARES Act, the payroll protection is part of the CARES Act, and then there's the 7A, and then there's the disaster. Out of those 3 programs, I guess maybe let's open it to a question. Somebody can unmute themselves, and if you've got a specific scenario that you want to ask about, let's go ahead and do that. Anybody have a specific question that wants to chime in?
Hi, this is Debbie.
Hey, Debbie.
Hi. So my question is, we as a business, as I'm sure other businesses are as well, are highly leveraged already with debt. So it's great news with this, the paycheck protection. And it also mentions here in the, in some under loan forgiveness, it says any portion of the loan used to make payroll, pay for utilities, rent, mortgage, and existing business debt may be forgiven dollar to dollar. So can you share a little bit about that with me? Does that mean that they would allow us to borrow based on what we already owe on our line of credit and credit cards? And we are closed. So we are a gym that has been shut down as of March 16th, and we have no revenue coming in.
Yeah, that's a question that we would all love answers for, and sadly, I don't have answers for that yet.
Okay.
We are hoping again on Friday to have more answers and what exactly will be covered in the forgiveness. I do know the bulk of the forgiveness is payroll costs.
Understand. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't, even though you're closed, I would still try and get this loan if you're interested.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and we still have our employees, so they're still doing work for us. So we've come on.
Yes.
Could you also speak to, because this is something I've been working on, the calculation for the payroll costs. So what I've read is that it says if you were in business February 15th, 2019 through June 30th, 2019, it says your max loan is equal to 250% of your average monthly payroll cost during that time period, which is equal to 4.5 months.
Yes.
So do we just, add up all our payroll wages, if you will, that we paid out, and then just divide that by 4.5 months to figure out an average, and then take that average and multiply it by 2.5 times?
Well, that's what I'm doing. I mean,
Okay.
personally, we are applying for one of these loans also as a nonprofit. And so we took an average of our payroll costs over the year and then current, and are having that, 2.5 times or 250% of that amount, and using it in the specific time frame of February 15th to June 30th of this year.
Mhm.
So whatever you come up with, and don't forget to include all payroll costs, like not just the salaries, but payroll taxes, health benefits, 401k contributions, anything that comes through payroll, make sure you include that also.
So I have a question on that, because it says what costs are not eligible for payroll, and it says taxes imposed or withheld under chapters 21, 22, and 24 of the IRS code, and I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to Google all that either, but I think some of that might be for garnishment
Okay.
and things that are unusual to your payroll.
Okay.
But I haven't done the research on that either, but that's kind of what I'm thinking that it means.
Okay. And then, so based on what you've shared and what I'm seeing elsewhere as well, is we can add in our utilities that we pay on a monthly basis as well as our rent.
That's correct.
Okay. And that could be forgiven as well.
Well, that's what I'm personally not clear on in the research that I've been doing. And I've read the bill and I'm still not clear.
Okay.
So I guess it's going to be up to somebody's interpretation of the bill as to rent and utilities. However, I can give you my personal thought. I'm still going to apply for that. And even if it becomes debt, it's at 4%. So I figure I'm still ahead of the game because I haven't had to use all my reserves.
Okay.
So one question that came in through the chat was, if somebody's doubled their staff since the 2019 timeframe, would they be going off of the current numbers, or would they have to be going off the 2019?
Well, I think it's just putting it in the average. So whatever you had last year and whatever you have now, average it out, and you might not get 100% of the costs, but you're going to get the average of all your payroll costs.
Okay, so it's an average of 19 period plus 20 period. So it's not one or the other, it's both.
Right, that's my understanding.
And as we know, daily these things change and interpretations change.
Yes.
But this is where we're at now. So, okay. We had somebody else who was asking about the disaster loans and the forms. And I know that the system was down, I think, last week. And
yes.
And people were saying, go to the paper forms. Is that still the case? Have you seen anything with that?
Well, I've heard it's opened up again. And I went on yesterday and was able to get through just to test it. I've also heard the best time is sadly, in the middle of the night. So if you're a night owl and can stay up late, you probably have a pretty good chance of getting back on their site. It is frustrating. I really understand where we're all at with this. It's very frustrating. And while the Small Business Administration does wonderful things and has some fantastic programs, they're not Microsoft, right? I mean, they're kind of behind the 8 ball on technology. So it takes a lot of patience, but so hang in there. Okay. Keep trying.
And could you give some people insights if they haven't looked at the actual, what they need to be submitting, giving them a sense of what is the documentation that they're going to need to get ahead of time before even kind of tackling this process?
Right. So what I would suggest is if you go to our website, Ameritrustcdc.com, and on our website, we have a button, it's a forms, it's called forms. And if you go onto that, you will see all the forms that we normally collect for any given loan application. If you click on the application, the last page of that has a checklist of everything that we collect for a normal loan application. That will give you a very, very good idea of what you might be required to provide. It consists of 2 years of business tax returns and personal tax returns, current financial statements. I suspect they'll want all your organizational documents, a personal financial statement. That's kind of what I can think of right offhand, but that is on our website, and I think it would be a helpful guide just to help you start putting a package together.
Okay. Yeah, and I know not everybody has quick and readily access of those documents, and I know it's frustrating for some. And that's just, I know, some of the hesitation and some of the issues for some of the small businesses. So
Yes, it's scary and overwhelming because once we create our organizational documents, we never look at them again. And then we have to go try and find them. So it's, I wish we could be of more service. You're welcome to call us anytime, and we can try and help you with that and help direct you to the Secretary of State that has a copy of some of your documents. I know it's overwhelming. Our loan products on a good day are a little bit overwhelming with paperwork. So please don't hesitate to call our company, and we will help you through it as best we can.
And so for clarification, the SBA disaster loans have to be applied for online. Does the payroll protection, is that applied for will that be applied for online or directly through your banker?
That payroll protection loan is applied for directly through your business banker.
Okay. And are all banks going to be offering that, or are only certain banks going to be offering?
They all have the capability or the permission to offer the program. I will say that some banks are better at SBA loans than others. So I would recommend trying to find a bank that you know does SBA lending. And for sure the ones that I've recommended, Savvy Bank, Mountain Pacific Bank, First Financial Northwest Bank, which is right here in downtown Edmonds, right by the Sunset 190, First Financial Northwest Bank. Coastal Community is right here in Edmonds on 3rd. And then Banner Bank and Heritage Bank. They all have dedicated SBA departments.
Are credit unions also able to do this?
Yes, they are.
Okay, that was another question that came through. Okay. Any other sage-like words of wisdom as people are navigating the complicated, which one should I apply for? I know you said apply for them all. You don't have to take them necessarily. Just get approved for them and then figure out maybe in the end which one's going to be best for you.
I think that's a good plan, as daunting as that is to apply for these loans. But once you get a package of financial information, you can continue to use it to different loan programs. I think my suggestion would be to get a hold of your banker right away and ask them about this paycheck protection loan or that SBA 7A Express loan. That is new and part of the CARES Act that allows up to $1 million. So it is a credit scored program, and maybe a little easier. I can't guarantee that, but I know that being methodical, because it's so overwhelming, is like maybe do business financials one day, personal financials the next day. I mean, you have till Friday, because they're not going to release any more information now until Friday. So go through our application that's on our website, look at the checklist. Maybe one day you try and get all your business organizational documents together. If you went through an attorney, they have them on file. But it's overwhelming, so kind of spread it out a bit. And yeah.
Well, and ideally, if you have a close relationship with your bank or your CPA, they might be best positioned to help you figure out which one is going to be most advantageous for you in the long run. Knowing your operations and costs and, all those things, and being able to look at the different programs that are out there and know whether the
Definitely.
disaster loan or trying to get the payroll protection or the 7A. But applying for all three sounds daunting, I agree, but at least then you'd have options of which one to go with.
Yes.
And is there a maximum loan limit for the disaster loans? That was another question that came through.
Yes. Let's see if I did write that down. See if I can find it again. It's not a lot. Where some of these other ones, you can get up to $1 million or 10 million. Well, I can't find it right now. But a lot of the information that you guys sent out as a chamber, I've been using, and it was the attachment that you had, the Small Business Owner's Guide to the CARES Act.
Okay.
So that has the disaster loan, the Q&A in there of that disaster loan.
Okay.
So I'm assuming that you sent that out to everyone.
Well, I'll make sure it's up on our resource page on the chamber website as well.
Okay.
Well, I mean, so Giselle says 2 million.
2 million. Okay.
In one of the chats here. Well, I mean, if you want, we can open it up. You can either physically raise your hand or use the raise hand button if you want to ask another question and kind of continue to go through. I know we're getting a little bit close, so if people need to leave, feel free to. We're going to have 2 more of these calls, one with an attorney and one with a CPA. The attorney one is later today, and the CPA one will be tomorrow. And really looking at, thank you, Kim, for helping to share the loan options that are coming down. And I know it's a moving target, and everybody's trying to figure it out as best we can. And even with the people that are on the call, there's a wide gambit from solopreneur up to people that employ a substantial number of people, and everybody's just trying to figure out how it applies to them.
One thing I might just add is be careful of people that tell you they will assist you for a fee. There's a lot of those going out right now. And while a reasonable fee to help you put an application together is fine, but I received an email yesterday from an entity that will charge you $1,000 to help you prepare the application, which we don't even know what it is. And then they want 10% of the amount on the back end that you get forgiven. And I don't know, that guy might end up in jail, but that is something that SBA will not allow. So be careful. It's best just to go to your bank because there's no fee. And you don't want to get involved with someone who says they'll do it all for you for a fee.
Thank you. Good advice. So feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question if you've got, and have a few more minutes so we can hang out on the call.
I'm going to chime in really quick with confirmation, because I just visited the SBA Disaster Loan 3-step process handout that we have posted on our page. I think that's what you were referring to, Kim.
Yes.
And under step 1, apply for a loan, it says that you may borrow up to $2 million for physical damage, and it keeps going. And every time I see a number listed for different reasons, it's $2 million. So I think that was correct. Thank you, Giselle, for that. So anyone have questions that did not get answered, or a new question coming up?
Or specifics on your own. You can raise your hand up in the air and I can unmute you if you're having trouble. Yes, Charlie.
After this is done, I'd like to pass it around to some people I know that are struggling. Where will we be able to find the link to view this recording?
I'll put it up on YouTube, and then we'll put the link onto our Facebook and to our website.
Excellent.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Kim. Very much appreciated for your time, and I am trying to do my best not to become an expert in all of this, because that would take more time than I care to think of. But we're trying to make sure that we're providing as much relevant information as quickly as it comes down and not overloading people. But I think your advice on apply for them all, I know it's daunting, but if you get approved for them all, then you can decide at that point. And I know it's just the documentation scares some people, and other people have it readily at hand. So everybody's in a little bit of a different boat. So very much appreciated, Kim. Thank you to everybody else who is on the call. We'll have the other one today at 2 with the attorney, and then tomorrow at 11 o'clock with Julie, one of our CPAs in the community. And in addition, we have a separate chamber foundation that's doing Wish Fund grants. So we're doing $500 grants that are connecting business owners with a service professional to assist them in fortifying a different aspect of the business, whether that's fixing their website or social media, or adding online shopping to a site, and it's something that I always wanted to do. And so we've got about 20 that we can approve at this point based on our current funding, but we're getting potentially some additional funds coming in for that. So I think we've already approved 8. So there's still room in there if anybody has a need or knows somebody that has a need. And we're happy to continue to do what we can. All right. Well, thank you all.